Okay. Are we live?
We're live again.
Okay, we're live again. Sorry. One of the limitations of being in the vaults is that we're surrounded by a lot of concrete and our cell reception is not really great. So we're going to try again and pick up where we left off, which was one of my favorite guns in the collection. And now I've got gloves on, so I'm going to have Danny push the button.
Yeah, one camera.
Woo!
It's not.
You're famous.
Doesn't want to flip. You go like this, but then we can't see what we're filming.
Okay, so this is this is what we do here when we're trying to pick up. This gun right here is a Hopkins & Allen XL3 double action revolver, and it belonged to a local madam, Cassie Waters. If you guys have ever been here, I'm sure you've been to the Steakhouse Cassie's. Well, that used to be a brothel, so that's where you get your meat. So this gun belonged to Cassie. We don't know exactly who gave it to her, but we did know that it was either a doctor or a local politician. And Cassie was kind of an interesting character because she was incredibly respected in the town. She was a businesswoman. And my favorite story about her is that one year the Prince of Monaco was here for the Stampede, our big kind of 4th of July celebration. And she parked in the Prince of Monaco spot and she got a $100 fine. So she was quite the lady. And I'm going to hand this back to Danny real quick so that I can get my gloves off to maybe make the camera work. And the final gun that we've got sitting on this table, which we took off display to kind of partner with another gun that we have that's similar, and that is our Winchester model 1873, and that's a 1 of 1,000. If you're familiar with the 1 of 1,000s, that is the gun that was the best of every 1,000. It was a marketing campaign that Winchester did, and they would test fire and shoot the guns, and then the best one that they had, they would fix with good stock, they would put better sights on it, engraving, that kind of thing. And we have a 73 1 of 1,000, and then we have on display an even more rare 76 1 of 1,000. So we're trying to kind of put them together to kind of have that conversation about marketing and firearms and kind of this history of the gun that won the West. And so this gun, if you want to pan down, even though our camera's not working super well, you can see in pretty good condition. Most of our firearms came to us from Winchester, and so they stayed in the factory after they were made, so they are in very good condition. But those are the guns we have on the table, but let's go into some of the cabinetry and see what we've got. I really don't like that this doesn't turn around. We're going to try that again. Haha! Just didn't need... nitrile gloves, for the record, don't work with cell phones. So this is case number 2, and if I'm strong enough, I'll be able to open it. And so all of these drawers are filled with guns for the most part. This one's a little sparse because we just did a series of visible storage displays and we got a large percentage of these guns out and on display. But you can see that we've got a lot of percussion single shot guns in here. Most of these things have either been on display or, you know, have been rotated in and out. But I wanted to be able to show you one of our older guns, if you'll open the thing, Danny, and then also be tall enough to show it to people, because I'm not. The hazards of being short in a gun museum is we have a hand cannon here. If you've been to our museum, you've seen our multi-barrel hand cannon. This is another one we have in the collection, and you'll notice that it has kind of a museum quality wrapping and protecting around so it doesn't roll around as we move the drawers. That's, you know, a good policy in museum storage. So in these cases, we have a lot of percussion guns, flintlock guns, multi-barreled pistols, mostly earlier firearms. And then as we go further into our casework, we have, you know, contemporary guns, Glocks, Smith & Wessons, Colts, cased guns, but it's kind of runs the gamut in here. I'll let Danny pan out so you can see some of the things that we have.
There's some really weird things in here.
There are some really weird things in here. This might be the first time Danny has seen this since he just started a couple of months ago. And then if we want, Danny, we can go into the cased guns so people can see what's in the other. The Cooney Firearms Museum has about 7,000 firearms in the collection. And we've got about 4,000 of our guns on display, which is a really great percentage for most museums. But we would still like to be able to get more of our guns on display. Why don't you open a case that has some of the guns exposed? I think we have some of them. And I'll get my gloves back on so that we can open it. Alrighty. So with our cased guns, as long as the case that they are in, as long as those cases aren't detrimental to the conservation of the objects, we can keep the guns inside of them. And so we have several guns that kind of have their home here. But as you'll see, especially with the older guns, a lot of the boxes deteriorate over time. Here's a pretty cased gun. We do also have a collection of ammunition in the museum, which you'll see here in a second how extreme that goes. But you'll notice that pretty much everything is as full as it can be. We're about to redo the museum, and when we do that, we're going to get more guns on display because we don't want to have these guns kind of hidden away. Although it's great for Facebook Live, but it's much better to have them on display for the public all the time. And right over here, if you'll pan over here, Danny, this is our really fancy wooden chest that supplies a lot of ammunition. We have a very large ammunition collection in several different vaults in the museum. This one mostly handles our shotgun collection. And for the most part, it's pretty standard historic shotgun ammo. We do have a couple of odd things in here that we kind of come across from time to time. But this would make any collector, ammo collectors, so happy. It's just really neat. We've got a couple of 4 gauges in here. We got a couple of 2 gauges in there. It's just kind of a neat little way that we can pack in a lot of ammo in a very small amount of space. But a couple of other cases we've got. I said we have our early firearms, our kind of flintlocks, percussion guns. But then, of course, we do have our Colt semi-autos. And we try to label the cases as much as possible. When you're shifting, sometimes things change. But we do have our cases of semi-autos, our Colts, our Smith & Wessons. We have a fantastic Ruger collection. I'll pull the drawer out here to see what we actually have in the vaults. Most of the Ruger collection is on display. And we have a unique connection to Ruger because Bill Ruger Sr., who was on our board of trustees, he helped us get the name Cody Firearms Museum because he had his personal collection here as well as the Winchester collection, and he really wanted to make sure that the museum wasn't limited by one manufacturer, and so he gave the first $1 million to our installation in 1991 in order to name the museum anything other than a firearms manufacturer. So we have a great collection of Rugers, and they're pretty much all the same serial number because we've had most Bill Ruger Sr.'s firearms, but then also Junior's firearms. They whatever serial number they get, they have given most of those guns to this museum, and I believe there are some in the NRA museum as well. The list of guns that you can find in here is pretty much never ending, which is great for us because it gives us an opportunity to kind of learn something new every day. But before we go, I did want to show you something that I discovered in the vaults. So you can work here for 5.5 years and still find things that you don't realize are in here and might confuse you a little bit. And that's this case over here. And it mostly houses a lot of our engraving plates, some holsters, a bunch of air guns. But one day I was going through here because we used to house John Wayne's shirt in here. And I was going through everything to see what we had. And down at the bottom, I opened up a case that smelled quite odd. The casework is always a little struggle to get open. And chocolate. We have a series of chocolate in the cases here that we discovered, and we are in the process of moving that chocolate down to conservation so that we can put it in cold storage. The museum has a lot of different random things in here, including a piece of a very old birthday cake, which is not a part of the Cody Firearms Museum collection, but a part of the Buffalo Bill Museum collection. And for those types of things, we like to get them down to cold storage. So now that we've found it, we're going to transport it down to conservation, make sure that everything's good with it, and get it into a little bit more secure storage. But this is our gun vault, Vault F. as you can see, we have a lot of really great things in here. Some really historically significant pieces that we would love to have back on display and are getting back on display here in the next month or so. But hopefully, if you guys like this, we'll go into our next vault, which is, believe it or not, there are more guns in it. So we'll be doing that at some point after the new year. So I hope you guys have a happy holiday and a wonderful New Year's, and thanks for tuning in.